Oh, sure. And move right to the this is also going on in that area.
Sit down here.
So next few minutes, we're going to start.
Yeah.
As the board members slowly work their way up. Good morning. Good morning, Twin Cities. I call this annual membership meeting of the AFMTE to order. I bought this gavel to pass it. So I'm so glad that you're here. I'm imagining that a variety of people will start rolling in at their slow motion. And we have a variety of things to share with you from the business of the Alliance. We're so glad that each of you are members. We have our board members up here that I will do a little bit of introductions. I want to share a little bit about the year in review, have some committee reports, and then also we have a slate and we will do some elections. So you have our leadership development team is at the entrance doors, checking in with people to see if they are members. That means they have a star on their badge. And then giving them some election materials. So we're a growing organization, and we've gotten so big that we actually needed to have a virtual assistant. And so we have hired Naomi Olivier, who's in the audience. We've gotten so big that we've grown out of our box of just being all volunteer organization. One of the great issues that we've been working with is our National Teacher Education Standards Project. You'll hear much more about that after our coffee break. The team will be up to present to you some of the assessments and some of the information about that. The other thing is we have much representation throughout all of the organizations, whether it's with the Federation, the National Certification Board, some of the legislative processes for government relations. And so our role here as the Alliance for Massage Therapy Education is to be a voice and an advocate and a resource. One of the things that we know from our experience of this year is that this will be our first year of doing a bit of transition. I have been the president for the last 5 years, and as an organization to grow and to be sustainable, we realized that we needed to also have pieces in place to have succession and the ability for us to have process. So we have a wonderful governance committee, and they will share a little bit with you. This picture up here I adore because we've kind of grown out of our box. We've spent thousands and thousands of volunteer hours, and now we're moving into a different phase of our organization. My personal report to you, I love bacon. That's me eating bacon in Boston. I did a class at the New England Regional Conference. I was invited to be a speaker there. My dear friend Nancy Dale shared her keynote speech and asked us what our legacy is. And I will share with you that I hope this is my legacy. The other thing is part of my job as the president is to interact with all the committees. One of our biggest challenges is when we have someone who is brought onto the board is to onboard them and help them become an effective board member. We had a situation this year where we had a board member who, through personal commitments and family issues, was not able to meet her obligations to the Alliance, and so we began a process of mentoring with her, Sue Vivek and myself, very intensive mentoring, and yet we still had to ask her to resign. So part of the process of being a volunteer organization is that ability to say, thank you very much, but we really need someone who can fulfill that job. And so I want to acknowledge Penny Jeffrey, who's in the middle. We activated our Leadership Development Committee. We have people who are on committees and are volunteers, and Penny Jeffrey has stepped up quite tremendously to be involved with membership. Her background is going to be very helpful for our organization, and so I appreciate her work here. The other big piece for me as the president is that you are here at this event. This has been a big undertaking, whether it's the promotion of this or the planning of this. I am not on most of the key committees for that, but I feel the burden of that. And then we had our registrations, and our registrations surpassed anything that we've had in the past. Our ability to communicate through the social medias and have our registrations. We met with COMTA Executive Committee on a regular basis, and every meeting we would say, how are our registrations? Oh, they're double what they were this time, the last conference we did. Oh, they're triple what we did the last conference. So I'm very proud of our conference planning group and our ability to share with you the importance of this kind of event. That's my report. I love bacon. We do have a finance committee. Eric Holgar, Stan Dawson, and Tracy Quinton are on that. I'm going to let Eric Holgar talk about some of these things, and Eric can tell me when he wants me to switch the slides if he'd like, where he could stand here. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a little taller, so I don't like bacon. I'm a vegetarian. And so we spent a lot of the last year developing financial policies and procedures and trying to get the financial ship in order for the Alliance. And one of the things that we did was to develop a mission specific to finances. And so the financial functions of the Alliance serve to support its broader mission. It is understood that good financial practices underpin the ability of the Alliance to survive, thrive, and to undertake projects and activities that reflect its mandate. The Alliance is also committed to stability, accountability, and integrity in the conduct of its financial matters. As a treasurer, I've taken that very seriously, and it's paid off. So through the 2014-2015 year, the committee that I served with prepared our yearly operational budget. We've established a reserve fund, which you'll be informed about in a little bit here, and we've developed our financial policies and procedures and started to implement those and practice best practices. The goals for next year, or for the year that we're currently in, again, we're always going to be developing the operational budget. We are going to look at how to invest a reserve fund that we've created over the last 2 years. We would like to develop a business plan that will help us to be a sustainable organization for many more years to come. And we're going to review and update the financial policies and just make sure that they're in line with federal guidelines and all of that kind of stuff. And so the big news, as of July 9th, we had $182,205 in our bank. And so anybody who was in St. Charles with us knows that that's considerably more than we had at that time. So of the net assets, reserve funds are $150,000. Some of that is earmarked to pay for this Congress that we're attending, and some of that is earmarked as our general reserve funds. Available funding right now is $32,205. So that's money that is in our current budget for operations and hasn't been earmarked for anything at this point. And you can see the breakdown of where our money lies. We have a standard checking and savings account through Chase Bank, and then we operate our PayPal accounts for online purchases and those kind of things. And just to give people kind of a view of how we've done year over year, membership revenue in 2013 was $13,900. It dropped considerably in 2014 to $11,500, and we've raised it back up to about $12,050 this year. And we undertook a major change in the structure of our memberships. And so we're still looking at that and analyzing it and making sure that it's going to work moving forward. When we looked at our operational budget and compared it to what we've actually done this year, we budgeted for $29,000 basically in expenses, and we have $24,000. And so we're running a pretty tight ship. The variance there was $4,000, and that's a good variance. We spent less than what we thought we were going to spend. On the flip side, we budgeted for $18,000 in revenue, but we only got $9,675 in revenue, and that's membership revenue. And so that was a pretty big shock for me, and we're still going to look at that and figure out what we can do to increase our revenue streams and explore different ways to bring revenue into the Alliance. I am accepting donations. And that's my report. I'll field questions if anybody has any. Certainly.
So your reserve funds, you are looking at investing so you can actually make money on the money because savings accounts don't make money?
Yeah, we are looking to invest it. We want it to be in a fairly accessible type of investment. And so Stan Dawson created a report with some recommendations. We're going to take those back to the Finance Committee and make a determination fairly shortly on how we're going to invest that reserve fund. Any other questions? Perfect. Then I'm going to turn the floor back over to Pete.
And Eric, I want to just make the comment, and I say this on most of our board conference calls. Bless you, my son. You are a godsend to this Alliance. I so appreciate the work that you have done and honor the skill that you have. So the governance committee report is next, and Sue Bibick is sitting next to me. She will, if you want to tell me to move the slides, or you can stand up here if you'd like.
Any chance I get, I would love to stand. Can we move this outside? Okay. I am the chair and liaison of the governance committee, which has been on my pet project list since I've been in the organization. I have some really talented people with me, and I'll talk about what we're doing at MK Brennan, Ginny Olson, and Deanna Sylvester. And we pretty much meet once a month for an hour, hour and a half. We're a pretty efficient group when we get together. We do a lot of our meeting time as active working time on Google Docs. I actually function more in this committee because of the expertise of my 3 committee members as the expert from the Alliance, and never having gone through the process of writing policies and procedures, I have great assistance and support from my 3 committee members. So far we have about over 50 people hours invested, and we continue to move forward with our projects. So we started meeting just over about a year and a half ago, and Deanna joined us in the summer. And we spent some time assessing what our process was going to be. So since, since we have really shifted how we function as an organization from when we were first started, we went back through the bylaws and really looked at them relative to who we are today. And that took us quite a while, that we got through the bylaws and to ensure that what we're currently doing is really consistent. And the new bylaws were approved, lost it in my brain sometime in the last couple of months, April, thank you. And from there, we decided to start that way because from there, the policies and procedures will roll out and for consistency's sake. So we've done revisions. We go back and forth between the executive committee and the board, suggestions back and forth. We do a lot of this on Google Docs. So it's really easy for us to work as a committee, have working meetings, and then for the board to have access and comment, and we can just keep a running document and incorporate what we've been doing. Should have waited for that slide. It was in April 2015. So we've got bylaws reviews, we're working on policies and procedures. We are guessing we will be done in about a year, and then the governance committee will become less of an active committee and more of an annual revision committee, or as needed. We've been able to incorporate the policies that have been already developed, our code of ethics, our standard of behavior, all of that kind of stuff into our policies and procedures. So we're just putting the whole thing together, and that's our estimated date. Any questions? It's a really exciting committee. You want to join it, I know you do.
Yeah.
You can tell. Terry?
So in this organization, bylaws can be changed by the board?
Up until now, that was one of the things that we shifted in our bylaws was that the membership will be part of that process.
In the future?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very efficient that you can change it, but better for an organization who can grow up.
I understand.
Yes, great, good job, good job. That's-
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes, Carrie, it's a great observation, and one of the things, as I showed you that dog in the box, we're getting bigger, and we want to be able to be sustainable and to include the membership in all of the things that we're doing. You'll also notice that MK Brennan is the executive director for a couple of different groups, and Ginny Olson is the executive director. So we are well enmeshed with our colleagues and our associates, and we feel very supported by the other members of the coalition, and that's really been our goal as an alliance. I'll turn the floor over to Dr. Stan Dawson, and you can stand here if you'd like.
Okay.
The work of the Strategic Planning Committee is vital for us, and we will be having a board meeting on Sunday and Monday, and the work that Stan and Dr. Drew have done has been tremendous, and I want to just acknowledge you, Stan, for that.
Well, this subcommittee has worked seamlessly and beautifully together under the guidance of Dr. Drew Rice from Parker College in Texas. But we have 3 other committee members. I'm the board liaison. We have Sherry Manti, Carol Osborne Sheets, and Penny Jeffrey. Penny Shoemaker. The direction that we were given, people that joined this committee had previous experience in doing strategic planning in other organizations, like Dr. Wright helped his own Parker University do their strategic planning. So as a board, I think we decided rather than to do the preliminary development of the strategic plan ourselves, we farmed it out to this committee, and now this weekend, Sunday and Monday, we're going to be delving into it in great detail and trying to reach toward a final draft of it. The committee itself was appointed by Pete, but also filled out by the Leadership Development Committee. We started meeting just under a year ago, and we finished our task by this last spring, which was our goal date. We have a rough draft. It's based on the, can I advance this? But basically, yeah, let's go back to the bottom part of that. We started out focusing on the history of the Alliance, our core documents, our basic goals, and then we started to, under Dr. Rice's guidance, really kind of developed a structure based on the goals of the organization, and we went back and forth with the board between our, to get feedback and guidance to make sure we're on the right track. We also developed a process, whatever goal we're setting, we're trying to identify the actions that would fulfill the goal, and then an analysis process that assesses whether we have achieved that goal and how we would modify future behavior, change the goal a little bit. All the tweakings really are based on an analysis of how we do. over the next, months and year. And we will eventually then review the strategic plan throughout this next year, check and see if we're hitting our benchmarks, and revise the strategic plan year to year. So this committee has done the bulk of its work, but will be called on to review the final draft, not to approve it, but basically just to see that the task is done. And then in the ongoing work of the organization, we'll kind of monitor how we're doing. And this committee is enthusiastically prepared to continue on and work with the board on the future development of the plan and implementation of it. That's about it. You guys have any questions?
And you'll notice we gave them a 0 budget line.
Yeah, and we met it.
So this is an amazing volunteer organization that we get these things done with $0. The other thing is our biggest goal is to have extra different revenues, and that will be a big part of our strategic plan. All right, so Stephanie Beck has prepared a variety of things here, and I want to give her the opportunity to stand and deliver. Stephanie has 2 roles in the Alliance. She actually has some website and back-end role in terms of maintaining our marketing, but also she's a board member, and I want to just acknowledge her for her deep service that she has done for this organization. We have a very consistent brand and very consistent look. Our whole website was CEO'd, I don't know, maybe SEO'd, and whatever. And so Stephanie, this is going to be one of your last meetings, and so I just want to acknowledge you for your service.
Thank you. I'll still be around. You don't get rid of me that easy. Good morning. It's been my pleasure to be with you today. I have been mostly a committee of 1, with the exception of having great support from our president, Pete Whitbridge, and Cherise Huntington. I'd like to give them a round of applause, please. The purpose of our marketing committee of 1 was to support the branding and messaging of the organization and offering marketing support to all committees out there. As director of marketing, it was my task to be in charge of social media messaging, which, if any of you know, I like social media a little bit. Yeah. Graphic design for, as my company, I said to my loving husband over there, hey, by the way, I just volunteered all of our staff to work so many hours for the Alliance, and I didn't ask permission, I just did it. And so I really want to thank all of, they're not here, but all of our graphic designers, web designers, programmers that have chipped in, and SRB Solutions has covered that. And that's because of how much I believe in this organization and how important each one of you are to me personally. Also, the website and the SEO maintenance of every page and press release that goes out, press releases and the articles. We average about 1,300 visitors a day on our website, and for those of you who are geeks like me, that's a lot of traffic, right? For a brand new organization.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Our most popular pages continue to be our continuing education directory. So for those of you who are CE members, as well, CE provider members, as well as allied members who offer CE courses in schools, if you're not in that directory, you guys definitely need to take advantage of that because we're getting an awful lot of traffic. Okay, and I've got some reports that show how much traffic we're getting. Also the resource directory. This was a new directory that we built in 2013. It was to support resources for the core competencies. And then Educator of the Year has always been one of the big pages that people like to visit, as well as the updated membership categories. To date, our social media, this time last year we had just over 2,700 fans on Facebook, and we, as of June, we're at 3,400. So good job, guys. Keep inviting and sharing and participating on there. Twitter, at the 2013 conference, we had 596 people on Twitter. We now have 857.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're getting there. LinkedIn, I know that you guys, most of you, I've approved and had interaction with on LinkedIn. I know that a lot of, anyone who's on that LinkedIn discussion, would you please raise your hand in the room? Okay, awesome. That's one of our top rated LinkedIn, on LinkedIn is our group, because anytime there is a post and discussion, there's lots of feedback. And YouTube, I can't thank Ryan Homey enough, and Massage Nerd. I'd like to give him a round of applause for all the work down, sorry. Okay, so here's our website analysis. Okay, you can see that in 2015 we had another big jump as far as the average visitors to the page. We did a revamp in 2012 going into 2013, but prior to that, 2012, when I took over, there was absolutely no search engine optimization that had been done on the page at all. So we had 150 pages that we revamped in 2013 and went through SEO'd every single thing, and obviously went through and did some aggressive keyword research so that we identified our target audience, and you can see that we have had huge expanses. So, yeah,
Good job.
thank you.
Yeah.
Our traffic, for the most part, is organic, and we do have some direct, meaning that people are entering that directly into, and then our referral from other organizations, so I really appreciate that. And some of that's backlinking and just technical words that, unless you're a social geek like me, you may not understand. That's okay, just know it's a good thing. In the social traffic side, Facebook, for the most part, is where we get most of our traffic from social media, although LinkedIn has a significant amount coming to our website, as well as Twitter, and then the other segment is made up from our YouTube and Google+. Okay. And that's it. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
Good job.
Yay.
So Stephanie mentioned there were about 100 and some pages, and each of the board members were responsible for an area. So again, the board is a working board, and we went and revamped each of the content areas and were given the keywords to insert in there, and I want to just acknowledge all the board for that. That was one of the biggest things that we did as we did that search engine optimization. I learned, I'm good. All right, so Penny Jeffrey, I'm not gonna make you come up here because you didn't sound like you wanted to come up here. Yeah, and so but I do really want to acknowledge you, Penny, and this crew that's up here, Jane Irving, Pete Zooks, Beverly is on the call sometimes, Kate Zalowski, Ruth Warner, Naomi Olivier, And truly, we started meeting, I think, in April, and we just started to gel again. The board member that we had to ask to resign had really wanted to do the work of the membership, but it's really, it's not the easiest thing. I don't know if any of you made cold calls or tried to get somebody to join your organization, but it's not the easiest thing. And so the person that I want to acknowledge who really loves that is Naomi. She loves to do cold calls. So when she calls you up, she's going to sell you on this organization, and you're going to get a membership, whether it's $75 or $125. And I really think that our membership committee is going to fly. We need to have about 1,000 members to really make this an organization that flies. I think we're about 250, 300, something like that. And all of you, if you are a member and you have a star on your badge, have a membership certificate that came to you. Did you get your membership certificate? You can thank Gloria Lawrence for that. You can thank Gloria Lawrence for that. That was something that we have tried to do in so many different ways, whether it's a PDF or download it to you. And so we knew that we wanted to give you something from and to acknowledge you as members. And we want you to put that up into a frame. And we want to give you one of those every year when you renew. Many of you are founding members, and you've got a founding member card or certificate, and I hope that you will keep that founding member certificate in a frame, and then every year that you get a new one, that you'll put that in the frame. One of the biggest jobs that we did in membership, we had a variety of categories. Remember, you could be an associate school or a gold school, and multiple levels, and people would call up, and many of you would call up and you'd talk to me because I was the communicating secretary as well as the president and social media manager. And they'd say, well, what should I join as? And so the membership committee was very clear that it was too confusing. And so we really went through and decided a new fee structure. One member is a continuing education, one member is a school teacher and allied. So what I really think that as we think about memberships, we want you to join at whatever level feels comfortable for you. If you are a school and $300 seems like a stretch for you, it would be perfectly okay if you joined as a teacher. And remember, if we have 1,000 teachers at $75, we have a tremendous amount of money to be able to do the things to create resources for teachers, which would be continuing education modules so that we can actually have you be able to become certified teachers and get your continuing professional education. The other thing is we have a pretty good catalog of massage schools and contact lists. Naomi is a database expert. That's also been one of our hardest things to deal with is something called NetForum. If you look at Cherie's face right now, you can say NetForum. Go ahead, NetForum. NetForum. It's designed for large organizations and associations. And when I took this job on in 2011, when we jettisoned ourselves from the management group, it was a little bit before Thanksgiving, and they said, okay, here's the NetForum, here's the keys to the kingdom. And I had no idea what the kingdom even looked like. So I think that having an expert in the database management in Naomi, our office staff, Dr. Penny here will really be able to fly and be in contact with you in a much different way. So if Naomi calls you, it's probably to renew your membership. Please renew. Here are the categories: 300, 75, 125. And I want to acknowledge our allied members who pay $500 to be associated with us and to support us. And many of the exhibitors here are allied members. So I would like to just kind of clap for them because without their support, we couldn't have started. Many of you know that when we did start out, we raised $50,000 rather quickly. And some of that did come from our big time sponsor, Folks of Discovery. So Tim and Drew, if you're in the room, could you stand up? Ronnie? Thank you so much. All right. One of the great things that we're doing with this group is we realized, and I think Pete Zeus said this quite succinctly, he says, I'm really happy to be on this call, but I've got a lot of stuff to do. And so if you expect me to do stuff between meetings, I'm just not going to do it. Pete, are you here? Right? Am I saying that correctly? Yeah. And so I think it really pushed us to go, well, let's do work together while we're on the line together.
Rather than talking about what we might do, can we do it on this call for an hour?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, what you said was good too. Made it fun.
But you mean I might have been exaggerating just a little bit?
Because you never do that.
Yeah, well, talk to my wife. Yes. So, Penny works at North Carolina State. And so North Carolina State, I want to get that right because I didn't want to say Duke or anything like that. And yeah, no, I know. And so she actually has resources from the university to help us collaborate online together. So when we're on a phone or on the internet, we can actually be in separate rooms, moderated rooms that Pete and I can start to formulate some social media posts regarding education together. And then, so we're actually physically doing work together, then we join back together. I just think it's great as a technology that we as teachers can learn to continue to develop our skills using that technology. So if you've never used the Collaborate system, Penny has introduced us to that. We also use Google Hangouts. That will be our next group to do some visuals so we can actually have some video. And then we use Google Docs tremendously in our organization. And I can just say that the membership committee was the group that really pushed us to have an assistant, to have some kind of employee. And I don't know where Naomi came from. Oh yes, I do. Masa Mio. And she lives in Tucson. And is Naomi in this room? Yeah, at some point, yeah, we'll bring her in. And all of you have met Naomi as the communicating secretary and president. My job has been much different since Naomi was hired in April. And my wife and I actually have a different relationship, and I actually see her on a regular basis, and I don't wake up in the middle of the night looking at my emails. So, thank goodness for me. So, Cherie, do you want me to just kind of go through this a little bit, or do you want to go through it? Yeah, great.
Well, frankly, you kind of know what the conference committee's done because you're experiencing the results.
So before you start here, I just want to just have a round of applause for the conference planning committee. And we would not be able to do this without the volunteer hours of Nancy Dale and Cherie Sun and Mo. So please, both of you, stand up. I do also want to acknowledge all of the work of all the committee members and the commitment from COMTA to do this. Nancy's skill at organizing and doing this has been a wonderful asset. I know that many of you know that we've done 5 conferences in 6 years. Now, if any of you have ever put on one conference, you know how exhausting that is. There was this time period where we did 3 conferences in about 20 months. So maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. That's just my style.
Thank you. That's mainly why I wanted to get up there, is because I want to make sure that Nancy got it. Because, you know, I tend to kind of be the slightly flamboyant one. So people recognize me, but Nancy is the chair and she is the heart of this committee. We've had a lot of volunteers, as Pete said. Could the volunteers just stand up? If you're in here, we're probably still out in the hall doing things. But I saw Deb in here, and please stand up. This is a big production, which is why we're gonna only do it every 2 years. Because it's a really big production. As was talked about before, we started calculating our hours. And it's been well over 1,500 volunteer hours for this. So it's like, now I understand why conference planning people get paid $75,000 a conference. Yeah, we don't have that kind of a budget. We met monthly, and sometimes more than monthly. And there was maybe a couple of months where we only met every other month, but because there's always things that have to happen and lots of planning that has to go on. We kept good minutes. We have agendas. I didn't keep the minutes. I'm just going on record everywhere. Do not ask me to do minutes. One of the nice things, and we're getting so much better at it, and part of the reason we're getting better at it is we have more volunteers. But this is the committee that really, really, really needs more volunteers. And it's a fun committee. And as you can see, we all work really hard on this committee, but we also have a lot of fun. And Nancy and I do our best to make sure, as a volunteer, that you have fun on our committee. So one of the things is that we've been getting better at, Pete back there, how you said, let's do our work on our calls. Unfortunately, we can't do that in this committee. But we've gotten a lot better at honing in for our meetings to just be reports and say, what do we need to do next? How can we support each other? This is our largest event to date. 212, more than that, because in the last few days before the conference, I think like 5 or 6 people registered. So I'm saying 215, 220, we'll have official numbers later. Yeah. And our last 2, we had 130. So this is a huge. We had 32 vendors with 35 booths, because a couple of the vendors took more than 1 booth this time. One of the other things that's exciting is that why we had so many vendors is they usually come back every time, because they know that you're the people they want to talk to. You are the heart of this profession. You're the key educators, the key CE providers, the school owners. You are the ones whose voice needs to be heard. We also introduced, now, the face I made about the Net forum, yeah, I didn't want to say that word. And I'm pretty computer literate. I have my own company, we have a database. Net forum drove me crazy. But I'm the one who brought this Hoover app in. So. And we will be going completely paperless next time. So those of you who don't have smartphones, you just have to buddy up with somebody who does. Or talk to me. Well, one person who complained, she goes, well, I don't have a smartphone. And I was like, I gave her some options and how we could help her. Very, very supportive. And I get an email back, I'm just going to go get a smartphone. That happens. You give people space they move on. So that's all I have. Are there any questions about the conference or conference planning or how you can get involved? Yes, Carrie.
Do you know where it's going to be in 2 years?
Yes, Tucson, Arizona. Yes, in July. We had it there before in June. Everybody loved it. That's why we're coming back. Not just because it's my hometown, but we got a favorable. I mean, where can you go into a 5-star resort for $110 a night?
Oh, good point. That's right.
And it's air conditioned, 4 pools. It's beautiful.
Brenda?
Can I just say that I would really like to express my appreciation to all of the organizations that have cooperated, because personally, the investment to make one trip to meet all the people I need to talk to and not have to choose, do I go to the AFMTE, do I go to AFMTE? You know, this for me has been not just indicative of the industry and the cooperation, but from a personal investment of time and money. Thank you.
We heard you. We commit to doing this on a biennial basis. That's every 2 years, people, biennial. And so we are talking about where we're going to be in 2019. And we are already talking with our colleagues in the foundation about creating an event around the foundation research conference. Okay? And why I'm saying that is because we want to highlight the research conference and have our meetings and our groupings around that. And it's a perfect timing for that. So you can see that 2017, we will be in Tucson. All of our collaborators know that's going to happen. 2019, we're planning ahead for, I don't know where 2021 will be.
Come on.
Mars?
Do I need to
Pluto?
get-
All right, so is Joe Lubow in the house? Does it say election up here, sir? Well, Deborah's gonna come, and I just wanna be sure that. Both of you are accessible.
Good morning, my name is Deborah Curtis, and we want to give a brief report from the Leadership Development Committee before starting the election. In addition to the board, the Leadership Development Committee is the only other elected group, and so we need to be accountable to you so you know what you're voting for, right? So you want us to continue our work. First of all, we started out as the nominating committee in that sort of traditional nominating committee role, which is, I think, why we've been historically elected. That involves first conducting a needs assessment with the existing board members to get a sense of any board openings, what skill set is needed for the new individuals, and what would be the best sort of characteristics and qualities in new individuals that would match well with the existing board. So we start with an assessment that assesses out that information. Then we communicate with you, and I'm hoping that all of the members in the room recognize that we've sent out emails that talk about the openings, invite applicants. We then interview the applicants who come forward as candidates and put together a slate, which is what you'll see coming up in the election. Beyond that, we've also, we were asked a few years ago to expand our mandate, and that's when our name changed to Leadership Development Committee. That's included a few additional things. One of them is populating committees. If committees need new members or if a new committee is formed, we're the group that's asked to help the chair or the board liaison find new members for that committee. I'm sure many of you have heard from us in that capacity over the years. We also do a certain amount of think tank kind of function on behalf of the board. From our board needs assessment, often information comes forward that we then share back to the board. Sort of bits and pieces of information that may be helpful to tweak things going forward. And this past year, we also began for the first time an annual needs assessment with committee chairs, which we really enjoyed doing and found there was a lot of interest in from the committee chairs in being engaged in that way. And that also resulted in information going back to the board that committee chairs were interested to communicate. So that sort of think tankish role, and sometimes the board and the executive committee ask us to talk to some people and reflect on certain issues. That happened this year, for example, where we were asked to give some recommendations around how to structure succession planning in the organization. So that would be an example of the kind of topic that might be included. One of the things we plan to do this year, this coming year, is to interview some of the friendly organizations, many of them who are involved in this conference, to ask some questions about how they've handled certain kinds of governance issues or structural issues, and get a sense of how different organizations have created methods of doing some of their day-to-day operations or handling some of the things that organizations sometimes struggle to figure out how to handle. So we're looking to do sort of friendly interviews there and come up with information that will be useful to the EC and the board based on different organizations' experiences of looking at different questions that come up for groups. So that's the type of thing we do. That's what our mandate is. The one additional thing we want to tackle this year, some of you will recall a few years ago, we floated the idea of an energy bank, which is meeting a need that we recognize in the organization, and that is not everybody has the time or the sort of capacity to handle becoming a board member or even being a sort of regular committee participant, but almost everybody has a certain amount of time to offer, and definitely people in this room, skills to offer. So what we're looking to do is try to figure out how specific tasks that were needed by the board or by the committees could be matched up with individuals who had a finite amount of time but to give to those tasks. We did actually launch the Energy Bank a few years ago, but it just didn't seem to be user-friendly in the way that it went forward. So one of the things we want to do this time is to rethink ways that function might be performed and try to be more kind of creative about how to put people like you in communication with the board or the committees who need specific tasks done. So you can expect to hear from us a little bit on that, as the months unfold. The other thing that I want to do finally is just to acknowledge and personally thank the members of the Leadership Development Committee. For those in the room, if you could stand up, Tim Herbert, David Lauderstein, Joe Lubau, and also not present, Tracy Walton and Christopher Atentoro, who's our board liaison. We really enjoy working together. We have a lot of fun. It's really great when we meet about every 3 weeks, and we do a lot of things from very finite specific tasks to very engaging and really interesting philosophical discussions. And we really enjoy each other's sort of participation and the time we spend together. And as I said, I really want to acknowledge and personally thank. It's great to have such a wonderful committee. So now over to Joe for the election.
Before you do that, Deborah, I want to thank you so much. Nobody acknowledged Deborah.
I was.
The backbone of an organization is its leadership funnel. The leadership group, development group has created this alliance. Thank you.
I don't need to say what I was going to say. Is this loud enough, close enough? Closer, tall. I do like bacon, but I had one slice yesterday. I gave my other 15 slices to Pete. So welcome to the election, the 2015 election for the Alliance for Massage Therapy Education. Two elections today, one for the seats that are up on the board of directors and the other for seats that are up on the leadership development committee. First, the board of directors. The board is composed of nine members, two of whom are school members, two are faculty members, two are continuing education providers, and three of the board seats are at-large members who may come from any of the membership categories, including allied members. The two school members currently serving on the board are Sue Bibick and Eric Polgar. Sue was elected last year electronically in the absence of a conference, and re-elected, I should say, to a 2-year term. She has 1 year left in that term. Eric was elected 2 years ago in St. Charles to a 2-year term. That seat is up this year. Eric has indicated a willingness to continue to serve, and the Leadership Development Committee recommends that Eric be re-elected to another 2-year term. I was going to slow down that bounce.
That was kind of cool.
I think that's going to happen every time. The two faculty members currently serving on the board of directors are Pete Whitridge, also serving as president, and Penny Jeffrey, who was appointed to the seat that was vacated earlier this year. Pete was elected last year, or re-elected last year electronically. He has 1 year left in his term. The seat that Penny is in is up for election this year, and the Leadership Development Committee recommends that she be elected to a full 2-year term. Glad you like it. The two continuing education providers currently serving on the board are Cherie Sonnen-Mo and Stan Dawson. Cherie was re-elected last year to a 2-year term. She has 1 year left in that term. Stan was also elected last year to a 2-year term and has 1 year left in that term. He will be moving from a CE provider seat to the at-large seat being vacated by Stephanie Beck. The Leadership Development Committee recommends Ariel Hubbard to fill the continuing education provider seat that is, in a roundabout way, becoming open. The three at-large members currently serving on the board are Stephanie Beck. I do not know why. Yeah, okay. Gloria Lawrence and Christopher Antoro. Stephanie was re-elected 2 years ago in St. Charles. Her term is up this year, and she is not choosing to stand for re-election. We are all really grateful for the work that she's done. And I also want to not only thank her and her staff, but her husband. Stan Dawson is moving into that seat, which is why we recommended Ariel for the continuing ed seat. Stan was elected last year. He has 1 year left in his term. Gloria Lawrence was also re-elected last year and has 1 year left in that term. Krista was elected 2 years ago in St. Charles. Her seat is up again this year, and the LDC recommends that she be reelected to another 2-year term. So that brings us to the slate. The LDC recommends Eric Polgar be reelected to the school seat on the board. That Penny Shoemaker Jeffrey, I think. Jeffrey, great. Be elected to the faculty seat. Ariel Hubbard be elected to the continuing education seat. And Christopher Antoro be reelected to the at-large seat. You should have, if you have a star on your badge, a set of ballots. We will only need those if there is a nomination from the floor. But if you have a star and don't have a ballot, you might want to raise your hand and one of the LDC members will make sure you get some ballots. So first, the school seat. Are there any nominations from the floor for the school seat currently occupied by Eric Polgar?
Are questions appropriate now, or since we're in the middle of elections now?
That was a question.
Real question.
Judgment call time.
Is it a question about the election?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, I'm just out of curiosity, 2 things. One is, were there other nominations and the committee picked these out of the nominations? Or were these the only people that stepped up for the position?
There were other nominations. Yeah, not many.
It's, I don't know the bylaws, so it's just a procedural question. And you're moving, Eric, you're moving somebody who has 1 year left, 1 year remaining, into a position that has 2 years remaining.
No, we're moving someone who has 1 year remaining into a position that has 1 year remaining.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That way we get to elect a continuing ed seat this year and another one next year. Okay. Second call for nominations from the floor for the school seat currently occupied by Eric Polgar. Third call, nominations from the floor for the school seat. Eric Polgar is reelected by acclamation. Any nominations from the floor for the faculty seat currently occupied by Penny Jeffrey? Second call, nominations from the floor for a faculty member seat on the board. Third call, nominations for a faculty member seat. Penny Jeffrey is elected to the board by acclamation. Any nominations from the floor for the continuing education seat that is emptying due to Stephanie's resignation? Not resignation, excuse me, not re-upping. Transition. Nominations for the continuing education seat. Second call for nominations from the floor for the continuing education seat on the board. Third call, nominations from the floor. Ariel Hubbard is elected to the continuing education seat by acclamation. Any nominations from the floor for the at-large seat on the board currently occupied by Krista Fratantoro? Second call, nominations from the floor for the at-large seat. Third call for nominations from the floor for the at-large seat. Krista Fratantoro is re-elected by acclamation. And since I am on the Leadership Development Committee, I will hand the mic over to Pete Whitridge, who will run the election for the LDC seats.
Good job.
The current committee for leadership development is Deborah Curtis, Chair, Joe Lubau, Tracy Walton, Tim Herbert, and David Lauderstein. Some of those seats are up for election this year. Deborah Curtis and Joe Lubau were elected last year for a 2-year term. The 3 open seats are Tracy Walton, Tim Herbert, and David Lauderstein. All 3 of them have requested and suggested that they would like to be reelected, and they have been put up for the slate. Tracy Walton, Tim Herbert, David Lauderstein, all 3 of them have. Uh-oh, sorry, Joe.
That was the election.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I know what it is. Okay, yes, I can do it verbally. So are there any nominations from the floor for the seat that is being held by Tracy Walton? Any nominations from the floor for the seat held by Tracy Walton? And the third call, Tracy Walton is running for election onto the Leadership Development Committee. Any nominations from the floor? Tracy is elected by acclamation. Next seat up is Tim Herbert. Tim Herbert has served as a stellar member of the Leadership Development Committee. Are there any nominations from the floor for this position? Second call, any nominations from the floor for Leadership Development Committee? Third call for the seat on Leadership Development Committee held by Tim Herbert. Having heard none, by acclamation, I elect Tim Herbert to the Leadership Development Committee. So last seat on the Leadership Development Committee is David Lauderstein. Are there any nominations from the floor to have that seat? Are there any nominations from the floor for the Leadership Development Committee for the 3rd seat? And the third call for nominations from the floor. Having heard none, David Lauderstein is acclaimed, elected to the Leadership Development Committee. All right, so we have held our elections. One of the great pieces about having a Leadership Development Committee is that they are actually able to hash out many of these items for us as a board. It's very, very helpful to have this group. I feel incredibly supported by them, and without that leadership funnel, this organization would wither and die. And so if you are in the room and they call you, serve. All right.
So you have, get a membership and serve.
Now, so the last thing that I'd like to do, I've got 2 things, but I want to do one right now and then go from there. President's Award. We have actually never done a President's Award, and as an outgoing president, I wanted to start a tradition in our organization. So there's someone in this room who served tirelessly for this board. Her name is Becky Blessing, and without her, all of the committee work, all of the Teacher Education Standards Project, all of the recalibration of the massage therapy body of knowledge would not have been projects that we would have done. Becky Blessing is a tireless worker. She is incredibly motivated. She is a chiropractor, a massage therapist, a tremendous human being. She flew in here to get this award. And so I want to acknowledge her and give her a few minutes at the podium. So Becky Blessing. So Becky, this award is an apple. And I just really want you to know that this award, I wanted to call it the Blessing Award. But you can only do awards for people who are not alive like that. So I'm gonna always consider this the Blessing Award because you have been my blessing. And I congratulate you with the President's Award.
This is quite an honor. I'm very grateful that Pete gave me a few minutes. And I'm glad this is actually kind of a small crowd. I'm a bit nervous up here. Pete gave me a call. I was in Puerto Rico a couple weeks ago. My husband has been living there for a few months, on his way to Europe for the next 3 to 5 years. So my life is sort of bilocal these days. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I thought I was coming to Minneapolis for a nice reprieve in weather. It's exactly the same. Oh well, this is kind of good. So I have just a few things I would like to say. I won't take up much of your time, but I think they're important. So I'm going to start with a quote, and this quote is from Bell Hooks, if anyone knows any of her education writings. And so Bell Hooks in 1994 wrote a series of essays called Teaching to Transgress. So this is for the teachers who we all are in this room. And she said, to educate as a practice of freedom is a way of teaching that anyone can learn. The learning process comes easiest to those who teach, who also believe that there is an aspect of our vocation that is sacred, who believe that our work is not merely to share information, but to share in the intellectual and spiritual growth of our students. To teach in a manner that respects and cares for the souls of our students is essential if we are to provide the necessary conditions where learning can most deeply and intimately begin. What an extraordinary gift we have, to be able to impact other teachers who go and teach their students, and for us as well. I sincerely want to thank Pete and the board, who I have had the honor of working with closely. Little did I know that 4 years ago, that the teacher standards and the work that we did on the line-by-line analysis of the MTBOK would serve as some of the key foundations of this organization. As someone said earlier, I think it was Tim Herbert, that as we look, we're always looking forward to the future. We never really stopped to really examine the work that we did. I am telling you that the teacher standards took thousands of hours. Personal time commitment of amazing people. And they were the ones that helped me navigate through this process. I had several board members who were part of my committee. Stan Dawson was my liaison to the board itself. Sandy Fritz, of course, with her ingenious way of verbalizing, was such a tremendous support. And of course, Cherie was also extraordinary. And then Pete and Stan with their wisdom was just, some of probably, I know some of you in here, some of you are probably saying, who is this person standing up here? I've never seen her before. I'm a practitioner, like many of you. I'm a teacher, and I'm a business owner. I have been working as an energy therapist, a massage therapist, and a chiropractor, when I did the math, for close to 37 years. I have learned different modalities. I am certified in many. I'm degreed from higher learning institutions in nutrition, psychology, and chiropractic. My new love is studying theology and transformational psych. Yet none is compared to the education I received working on the MTBOK or the teacher standards. It became my second full-time job, and I think I acquired a master's in the teacher standards on the process.
Recently, I was pretty much told that I am competitive and driven to perfection, which in psychology means fear and control, mostly with myself and the work that I do. I am driven, and I guess God just made me this way. So what has this got to do with the standards? It had never been attempted by this profession to create teacher standards and competencies. While hiring someone from the outside of the profession might have been a wiser move, having very little money to do so was really not advantageous. We could not pay for anyone to do it. So the committee went to the outside sources and different organizations to help guide us to the process that created the teacher standards. We were always aware of the many varied types of teachers and their education and strived to include all levels of teaching, especially in the massage profession. The wonderful thing about being an outsider sometimes is that I have the advantage of observing without bias. For as long as I can remember, there has been some internal argument within this profession. Profit, nonprofit, political, non-political, massage therapy, manual therapy, those who want to be included and those who do not. School versus teacher, teacher versus student, and the list goes on. Okay, I'm stuck. It went somewhere. Sorry about that. So I felt that I know I saw a divided profession. I've been to many AFMTE conferences. Was at the very first of this conference. But I saw a divided profession. One that I deeply believed in, and I wanted inclusion, but also one I felt deeply isolated from. By participating in that first Alliance conference, I missed being a founding member by 1 week. I became enthusiastic and wanted to be part of the positive change that was already taking place. It was an extraordinary event in Utah. I have always believed that education was the key to elevating the massage profession. I believe teachers should have the same standards and guidelines to teach their students, doing away with the mythology that runs rampant in this profession, and giving all teachers across this nation access to the same information. So I accepted the role as chair for the Professional Standards Committee and ran 3 subcommittees, M2B-OK, Teacher Standards, and Ethics. Thank God for Cherie and Pooh Gillespie. They took over and they just took over the ethics. That was amazing. I admit that at the time the job was too big for me. It's an honest admission. But I had the most wonderful team of people who dedicated their already busy lives to helping me navigate the work that was required. Meditation and prayer life with therapy sessions in between helped me keep balanced. My team and I created 2 incredible documents, but there was also the large learning curve. So I stepped out of my isolated comfort zone and stepped in to promote change. Many think that I'm an assertive person. I have a tendency to be extroverted, but intrinsically I really am an introvert and I'm really shy. So any of you who sent me the Woova, please come and greet with me verbally because somehow my app didn't work on my smartphone. I am but a very small part of this collective whole. What an amazing group of people. I am so very excited that this educational congress has come to be. I encourage all the organizations in the massage profession to create peace among themselves so that the vision of the future continues to grow and flourish with love and admiration for one another. My vision for this profession is one of inclusion, not exclusion. There is a place for all body workers, especially during these times when so many are in deep pain, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. With the correct knowledge, skills, and attitudes that teachers and students learn, I pray that wisdom without individual mythology is conveyed without bias and in a positive manner. That teachers can be effective and filled with compassion and love for themselves first,
and then their students. We have created a tactical body of work that has a strategic plan for the future. My objective was to bring the teacher standards to the profession with the passion of a common vision. We are transforming the profession of massage therapy. Progressive holistic education, engaged pedagogy, emphasizes well-being. That means that teachers must be actively involved and committed to the process of self-actualization that promotes their own well-being if they are to teach in a manner that empowers students. So with my deepest gratitude, I thank you for this recognition and the opportunity that allowed me to go on a personal intrinsic journey. I am grateful that God has given me such joy in my life. From the deepest part of myself, I am filled with gratitude and love for the work that all of you do. Thank you.
What a group. Katie, did you find your tribe? Katie Miller, did you find your tribe? Did you find your tribe here? Katie Miller, Teacher of the Year. Have you been enjoying yourself here? So it is 10:30. We are having a coffee break. The exhibitors and sponsors are out in the exhibit hall. The restrooms are waiting for you. Thank you so much. Wait 1 second, please. I don't know what we're doing. Can you tell me why we're stopping?
You'll see in about 3 seconds.
Okay.
On behalf of the board, we have an award for Pete. This says an appreciation for your service and commitment to the AFMTE. Thank you so much.
To everyone, thank you for your service to our field. Go take a break.